Hey, She Slayers, and welcome to another episode of She Slays the Day podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lauryn Brunslick. Okay, so today we are digging deep into rest and recovery of our entrepreneurial spirits and how each of our human designs may choose to rest differently. Or maybe you have a choice, but it really doesn't seem to fit. You're going to learn why. So we can get really into the weeds with human design. We're not going to do that. Nay. What I will say is that before you listen to this episode, we're going to have the link that she recommends below, which is free. I think it's My Body Graph or something like that. The link's going to be there. I would recommend pausing for just a teeny second, unless you already know your human design, and going and filling in about 3 questions. It is your birth date, your location, and the time of your birth. And that's what's kind of nice about the human design versus the Enneagram. Although, don't come at me. I'm always going to be an Enneagram girly. I really am. But I see the appeal of like your human design is set. Now, maybe you're like, this is some woo woo whack stuff. I'm not doing this. Again, I will say if you lead a team understanding their human design, even if you don't lead a team like, hey, well, Jessica, because you're a projector, this is like, you don't have to do that. You'll hear kind of, I think about 3/4 of the way through, you're going to hear like kind of where the light bulb goes off for me. And I realize how impactful this can be at leading your team and how you would implement it from a non-woo-woo way. So I promise, stick around till then. Okay. Minor updates. The Uncharted Collective is now just open. You can join at any time. We'll have that link below. If you don't know what the Uncharted Collective is, that's okay, friend. It is my membership that now has over 125 healthcare providers of all types in it. There's actually 1 or 2 non-healthcare providers, but I know them and I trust them and I let them in. And I am helping them create a monetizable personal brand online without needing to go viral in 2 hours a week. So you do not need to own your clinic. You do not need to quit your day job. This is just getting your little toes in the water. So, you can start monetizing online too. Like you're seeing other people, and you don't need to spend hours and hours and hours doing this, but you do need a strategy. And that's what we talk about in the membership. So that's there. Also to keep you updated. So I told you guys I went and got my foot levelers because I'm on this journey. I'm 38. I'm going to be 39 this September. I turn 40 next week. So I've been on this like hormone journey and walking and all of this stuff. I got my hormones tested this week. I don't have the results back yet, but I will definitely share with you and what I'm doing. I'm working on a peptide stack. Doesn't that sound cool? Like I have a tech stack. Everything's a stack now. Like here's my self-care stack. And here's my tech stack. And here's my AI stack. Well, I'm working on that. But also I had shared on a previous episode that I got fitted for custom orthotics and I've been using them. You have to like integrate them into your life. Okay. You have to do that. But so at first it felt really funny. Like when I was walking, it felt like, are these in right? Like it feels like there's just mild pressure on my arch. And I'm like, I don't know. I was like very on the fence of whether I even had them in my shoe. So correctly. And now that I've been using them more and more, all of a sudden they feel really comfortable, like really comfortable on my foot. And I'm like, wait, did my foot change? Did the shoe change? Am I just getting used to this? And I wasn't really aware of how much they were or are helping with my foot, shin, and knee pain until yesterday. I went for a walk with Maggie, my golden, and my Birkenstocks were just by the front door. And I threw them on and I went for a walk. And about 2 miles into the walk, I was like, oh, my feet throb. Okay, that's right. That's because so apparently they are working well. I'll continue to keep you posted. But honestly, I'm like, shoot, I think this might be like super helpful for me. And so now I think they have their own Birkenstock shoe sandal thing that I'm absolutely looking at getting. So I don't know. I guess this is me putting a call out into the ether to foot levelers of like, hey girl, Do you want to collab? Because you might have made a product that I might be dependent on for a while and I like. So just gonna throw my pigeon out into the wind and see if it gets returned back. All right, let's get down. Let's get down to business. So if you're new here, welcome to the She Slays the Day podcast. On this podcast, we help healthcare providers stay in business and thrive. So we address conversations around leadership, boredom, business growth, wealth, financial growth, all the fun things. And today we have on Mel McSherry, and she is a human design expert. So she's an international business and life guide, and she helps inspired but overwhelmed entrepreneurs honor their lives and become the architects of their own success. Mel uses their spiritual gifts and their 15 years of business building experience to slash entrepreneur stress and bring their success to life. By merging human design with traditional business development tools, Mel coaches others on how to connect with what they want and implement their strengths and strategies to be profitable every day, mentally, emotionally, and financially. Oh, you thought I was going to say physically. Okay. So we will do as we do, and we will just take 15 seconds to breathe, take a breath in, whatever you're doing. If you can close your eyes, great. If you're driving, please don't close your eyes and just feel where you are. Feel your heart, pulse. How much caffeine have you had today? Honey, have you had any water? Have you gotten any sunlight? Have you connected with your inner knowing? Are you struggling with something right now? Are you feeling disconnected from work, passion? Do you feel aimless? You have all the answers inside of you. Like I believe that your innate intelligence, your gut, that comes from God, and it only knows truth. So remember that, yes, we do love to pay for experts and we love to listen to all these smart people and we love to learn about ourselves. But ultimately, you learning to trust your own self is one of the biggest gifts you can do in this big old scary world that we're living. In your name, we pray. I don't know. Really wasn't a prayer. That's okay. God's here for it. Okay, without further ado, here is my conversation on human design and how to implement it in the workplace and your rest patterns with Mel McSherry. Enjoy. Well, Mel, welcome to the podcast. You are officially the first human design person we've had on, which is, I don't know if it's because I am incredibly biased to the Enneagram. I may or may not have had like 3 or 4 episodes on the Enneagram.
I love that.
I do find that I know what my human design is. And like there have been periods of time where the Enneagram didn't answer it and I turned to my human design. And that was also, it helped to fill in gaps and stuff. So
yes. I love that you've already like started this off on a great spot. So yeah.
Right. So I'm like, okay, us Enneagram people will allow it into the conversation. No. So maybe just give a little bit of the background of how you became like obsessed with an expert on human design. Like what's your kind of quick backstory?
Yeah. So quick backstory is I was an entrepreneur, or I am an entrepreneur, but I became an entrepreneur in 2010. And I actually started in the fitness industry. I was a certified personal trainer, did
you do Beachbody?
I did.
Oh my God. So for everybody listening, before we started recording, I just low key insulted my guest.
Oh no, you did not at all. Because if we had if we had a side podcast episode about that, we could go into that. So it was one of those
healthcare providers, like real ones, like chiropractors and dentists, not like Beachbody coaches. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
No, because that's a fair fair. That's a fair statement. Coming from a former Beachbody person, that's a fair statement. And I mean, you don't know this about me either, but I grew up in the behavioral health field with my father. So
Okay.
I know a lot of insights into the different areas of healthcare. So I
Yep.
get where you're coming from, and I'm not arguing with you whatsoever.
There's tiers. Chiropractors are very used to being not in the top tier.
Right. Yeah.
We
Everybody has
regularly get the
context
like,
around
oh,
it,
you know, like
right?
a real doctor. And we're like,
Yeah.
I know what you mean there. So I'm just going to let that fly.
Yeah, there's always context around it, and
Yes.
everybody's had their experiences with it. And the thing is what Beachbody was for me was a way for me to be a health and fitness coach after my son was born and I wasn't able to
Yeah.
travel. And also it introduced to me what business development should not be
Mm,
and how it's amplified in entrepreneurship as well, but it's that copy and paste lemming style
right.
that is never profitable. And that was one of the things that I was just already naturally doing different, which is how I became successful in Beachbody as quickly as I did. And that's what caught the attention of people. And that's how I actually started on my business guidance slash coaching
Right. You were
space. So
authentic in it. Yep.
yeah, it was one of those plot twists where it's like, oh, okay, I learned a bunch. I also know this was not, I didn't want to hey girl message anybody. Like this was how I wanted to do it differently.
Right.
Right. So when that came about, also through Beachbody, I had a year-long internship with John C. Maxwell, who is like the guru of business coaches. He's been around for decades. So that's what introduced me to actual business guidance, holding space, all of that. So it was the again the plot twist that I needed to get to where I am, because when I moved into the business quote unquote coaching space, I I went against my natural inclination and thought that the best ways to achieve the success that I wanted was to seek out that mentor, seek out that
Mhm.
expert, copy and paste. Like if they had the lifestyle that I wanted, I'm going to eat up everything
Yep.
that they gave me. I'm going to spit it back out and I'm going to rock it, which I did. But that was, from 2017 to 2020, I was unknowingly burning myself out and disconnecting myself from my true
Mhm.
how bit by bit every day until in 2020, I went to a spiritual retreat in Sedona, Arizona. It was my first one.
Which is a
And
great
I was
place
in,
to have a spiritual retreat.
right. I grew up in Arizona. So Sedona has always been my happy
Yeah.
place to begin with. And so with that, I was in this space of, okay, on paper, crushing it, making six figures, traveling all over the world, speaking here, there, this, that.
Mhm.
And yet I felt so inauthentic, so disconnected, like and every day was this internal battle of what I'm told to do and everything inside of me going, "Ugh." Like,
Okay, so
and it
this is the
was,
part of the interview where I typically ask, like, "Do you know your Enneagram by chance?" Or you
I did. And I haven't taken that test in a while. I
okay. What is your
want to
human design?
say I'm a projector. I'm
Okay.
an emotional authority projector.
Okay.
I think I was a 2 in
2?
Enneagram.
Okay. I don't know if I believe it, but
I
okay.
don't know.
It's
I don't
possible.
know.
2 wing 3. I'm currently sitting 2 wing 3, 4 wing 3. It's fine. It's fine. It doesn't matter. This is a
Okay.
human design podcast.
Right.
I'm
But
gonna
that
zip my
information,
yeah.
no, I like talking to people who are fluent in other practices because no
Yeah.
one modality is it, right? They
Right.
all do support each other. And I love all of them because they do
Yeah.
give you different lenses and layers.
Right.
And what I found was I was in this struggle, like this emotional war between what I felt, but I didn't have the words to advocate for myself. So I was just in this perpetual cycle of just shut up, Mel, and do what you're told. Just like blah, 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 blah. And then human design found me at this retreat, a person who also was an attendee, was utilized it, showed me how to find my chart. I read my whole chart and sobbed because it was the vernacular. It was that validation and confirmation of what I already knew, but had no proof or no, again, validation of why my how is the way that it is and where my energy is coming from. And oh, that's why this didn't work out. Or oh, that's why this was so great. And it helped me start rebuild that inner self trust and give me that why behind my how so I could look at how I was creating the business, the money, and the life that I want and truly align it to something that is sustainable and
Right.
inauthentic in more ways than just that word that we use.
Right.
all of the time.
Yep. So you and I had kind of talked about how what we're not going to do is we're not going to go into what is a projector, what is a
No,
generator,
this is
what is a
not human design
Manu-Geni.
101.
Right, right. Do you have a good link or like reference that or podcast or anything that we can like send people to who are like, I don't even know what I am. What are you talking about? Like pause, go find out what you are, come back. Do you have
Yeah,
a favorite?
absolutely. There's my favorite site is mybodygraph.com.
Okay.
And the reason why that I love it is because they don't sell your information to third parties and they don't spam you with anything. Like
Oh, that's
they
nice.
just give you your chart information. Granted, it's very basic information and you can
Right.
pay the paywall to learn more. But all you
You
need
will
to
need to
know to
text your mom and ask,
right.
Mom, what time was I born?
Exactly. Just about to say that. I'm like, you gotta need to know what time you were born, the date you were
So,
born, and the location. So yes, go call your mom or dig up your birth
Mom, what
certificate
time was
somewhere.
I born?
My friends, every time when I look at somebody new, I'm like, "Do you happen to know what time you were born?" And all of my friends go, "Oh, there they go, right
Uh-uh.
there."
Okay. And I will say, this is hands down my favorite. Like, if I were making a pro and cons list to
Mhm.
Enneagram and human design, I love human design that does not take, it's not like an if thing. If you put in the
No.
location and the time, this is what you are.
Yep.
And with Enneagram, oh my God, like the number of times. So, like, when I'll ask someone, I typically get like one of three responses: the any what? And I'm like, oh, okay, never mind,
Mhm.
don't worry about it.
Mhm.
The oh, I'm a 7. Or, like they know, they
Yeah.
know. And I'm like, I trust you. There was enough shame associated with that number because that's how you find your Enneagram when you're like,
Right.
oh God,
Yeah.
don't let
Yep.
anybody know this about me. Or it's kind of more your response of like, oh, I think I was like one wing six.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
yep. You're generally, but like I don't even use it for employees anymore or like hiring
Yeah.
because so many people are mistyped right away. Like there's just the
Absolutely.
mistyping and it's annoying. And it's like, no, it really needs to like you need to do the work to figure it out, which is annoying. So,
Yeah. And
point
also
human design.
diff well, and also different modalities connect to you at different times, right? Like
Mhm,
my gateway to all this was astrology. I'm a person that was born in the 80s, raised in the 90s. So astrology was like the in thing in the 90s.
mhm.
And that was kind of like my gateway drug to all of this.
Yeah,
But it's still an overarching theme, right? It doesn't give you your how you utilize this information.
right,
And the way that I look at a lot of these again, really great informational personality tests because I don't dog any of them because they all do give really
right.
valid, beautiful information. But how I like to picture it is they're the top of the iceberg, right? They take just bits and bobs of your conditioning, of your environment, of your learning, and all of that, and give you not I don't want to say like a Swiss cheese, but it's a short, like
Mhm.
short, quote unquote, explanation. Where human design is what's underneath the iceberg. It's
Right,
why you got the results that you did. And it gives you a deeper and a more personalized operations manual on how to shift those things into the more sustainable and profitable ways that you
right,
are that to utilize this information. So it just gives you that foundational information of why you got this Enneagram, this disc, this strength finders, and so
right.
forth. Yeah.
So, I'll share the story, of why when I, like, needed to really seek out information from the human design because I wasn't getting enough from the Enneagram, and I think that'll launch us really well into the conversation I want to have today about like rest cycles and productivity cycles and how each type should go about that. Because I think that's one of the keys
Mhm.
to burnout is knowing when to push, when to pause.
Absolutely.
So it was like 2 summers ago, and I had done like a major push basically from like September through April. I was like really going. And oh gosh, this was just last year. And I was on my way to one of my final speaking gigs, and I was
Mhm.
at the airport. And at the airport, I started having like some mild heart stuff,
Mm.
mild heart stuff. And so I had to call my friend whose event I was supposed to go to. I'm like, I don't think I can board a plane until I know what's going on. Da 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 da. It was stress. And I was like, okay, well, this makes sense. I'm going to take the summer off, even though I didn't feel stressed, whatever. I'm like, I'm going to take the summer off because I know in next September, I'm going to have to hit it hard again. I'm going to rest. And so I sat there for like the month of May. Honestly, it was probably like a week and a half. And I was just like aimlessly walking around my house, not
Mhm.
feeling like I wanted to rest, but saying I should rest. You should rest. But like I just felt so unproductive and I didn't feel fulfilled. I couldn't rest. So at the end of the day, I was exhausted because I was trying to rest, but I couldn't rest and I felt shitty. And so I turned to one of my friends who's really into human design and I say, okay, can you talk to me about Manny Jenny and what's going on? And this was her response, but she's not an expert. So I would love. And she's like, oh, Manny Jenny's, you can't plan your rest. Like it doesn't work that way. If your body doesn't want to rest, it's not going to. You have to go hard until you like can't anymore. And I was like, but the hard thing. And she's like, yep. And then how long did you rest for? I'm like, well, it's been like 4 weeks. She's like, yeah, your body's ready. It's like, it is ready. And I was like, oh, okay. So that was where it was like really, really helpful because I'm a 3 and 3s are workaholics. And
Mm.
I was like, okay, but the 3 doesn't tell me how to rest or when to rest. And I'm trying to rest and it's not working. And so that's where
Mhm.
human design was really, really helpful of like, oh, I
Mhm.
can't plan rest. And that
Mhm.
sucks. But like, yeah. So there
It's
was
that
yeah.
I love that because it's one of the things that I love about human design, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, is that it gives you your vernacular to these words, and it helps you
Mhm.
redefine the words that we spout out a lot, like consistency, sustainability, rest. If we want to go into
Burnout. Yeah.
business, yeah, all those things. Like we have such a predetermined context around them that even when I did experience my quote unquote burnout, which for projectors we are prone to do because we have no natural energy source, we receive it from others, which is probably why I attract Manny Gens like a moth to a flame because I just want to numb all your
I
energy up.
need your
It's like, come here. But it's one of those things of I have that conversation a lot with my manifesting generator clients of just like, and one, even just the definition of rest, yes, that's an overarching uh suggestion for many gens when it comes to quote unquote rest. It's when you look for me, when I look at the other areas of your chart, like your centers, which are over your chakras, which is where your energy comes from and how you utilize it. And your profile, like what are those kind of two numbers? It gives you more information on when you have defined it, what it actually looks like for you. So if I could share a quick story about one of my
yeah.
clients recently, so her whole thing was that she's like, my husband just wants to do nothing. And she's a manager. She's like, but I can't. So I go do things. And I feel like I should be quote unquote resting. I should be able to sit
Mhm.
still. Looking at her chart, I'm like, no, ma'am, you are not designed to sit still, especially this manager. You are not
Mhm.
designed to, you're getting energy from above and below, pressure to do, pressure to know. So embrace that. But the thing that's beautiful about Manigens is because you do have that copious amounts of energy. And because you are the multi passionate, multi inspired, multi bucketed person, your quote unquote rest typically means stop focusing on this over here and go do something that lights you up.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
that's the rest. You just
Mhm.
need this app in the background over here to rest. So go pay attention to these other four.
Yep. So
And
it
then
could be like, okay, so instead of working like, all right, you've been launching this product for a really long time, you
mhm,
need to rest. Okay, now go wallpaper your dining room.
exactly.
This
Yeah.
makes sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's what's going to renew your energy inside of that other space. Now,
The only
if
way
you
I can like truly rest, the only way I can truly rest is if I like go to I can't even like go to I can't say like all beach vacations because it's like, well, no, is it like, if I'm in Belize, I want to like see the city and I want to see this and this and this. So it has to be like a boring, like you're in Florida or Cancun and you've been there a bunch of times. You're at an all inclusive, everything is right here. I can
yeah,
sit and read a
because you've
book.
explored everything. Are you in a do you know your profile? Do you remember your profile, the 2
No,
numbers?
no, we can look it
Okay.
up though if you want.
I mean, My guess is you're probably an investigator because you like to have that information for those foundations. You like Google is your friend. You like to go down
Mhm.
rabbit holes. Like you like to experience. You're probably you mentioned a line 3 in Enneagram. That probably is connected to a line 3 in human design, which is all about experimentation, experiencing, all of those
Mhm.
things. But it is that it's like when you get those more customized pieces of information, then you can take what you've learned from those other assessments and go, oh, okay.
Yep.
Now here's more of an implementation plan as opposed to here's information, peace out. Like, yeah.
Right. Okay, so since we're talking about Manny Jenny's, let's kind of like wrap this one up. So
Yeah,
rest for us in general looks like switching tasks to something that is
exactly. Looks
exciting.
crazy busy to everybody else.
Right. So
Yeah.
instead, it may not look like naps. It may not look, yeah.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
So then how do I know when is a good time to like push myself?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. So the thing is that you as a manager, you don't need to because
Okay.
you naturally have that energy. Where actually a lot of my managers need to focus is on the other end of it is when do you step to the side? When do you move to that
I
other
love that you said
spot?
to the side because if you were going to say back, I was like, I will not step back.
You know
Yep.
what's so funny? I wrote a book in 2020 called She Profits, and I put in there that I don't believe in step backs. I only believe in side steps. Like, because
Mhm.
that's totally true. You can't step back because you're never the same person. It's never at the same time. Like stepping back
Right.
doesn't make any sense to me. But when you step to the side and you look at it from a different angle, it's more of it's paying attention to the areas when you start getting frustrated. So in human design, there's signature, which is a feeling that you get when you're inside of your design, which for Manny Jones, it's satisfaction. When you are moving too far outside of your design, you have a non-self signature, which for y'all is frustration. So
Mm.
when you're getting frustrated about something, that is your design going, okay, time to go over here. Like you have
Mhm.
mastered everything inside of that moment, inside of that space. So now you need to wait for more information, which is part of your strategy as a manifesting
Mhm.
generator. And you need to either talk it out because inform is your major strategy and not talk it out from a place of fix me. It's more of, I got to get this out of my brain, out of my system, out of
So
my
like verbal
head.
processing.
Exactly.
So how I
And then
started
let
a
it
podcast. Yes.
yeah. And then let that I like to say, let that glitter settle in that timeout jar and go over here. So it's actually listening to more of those like negative pings, quote unquote negative
Mhm.
pings, as opposed to like, I need to push myself. No, as a manager, that's natural. You don't have to focus on that whatsoever. What you do need to
Mhm.
focus on is when you've gone too far. Because what I say to my managers all the time is just because you should doesn't mean just because you can
Doesn't
doesn't
mean
mean
you
you
should.
should.
So how does comparison issues show up for Manny Gens? Because the
The
just
interesting
because you can doesn't mean you should. There's a lot
yeah,
of shoulding
there's a lot of
in my
shoulding.
life as far, and I don't know if that is a Manny Gen thing, but like because like I can be doing a million things and it's just
Mhm.
like the gap versus the gain where it's just like, yeah, but that person over there is doing even more. Like, is that a common thing for Manny Gen or just all humans?
I mean, it's a common thing for all humans, especially if you have what's called an open crown, or
Oh, that sounds
if you
good.
have, I know, right? If you have certain emotional and idealistic centers open, that means you're receiving energy and emotion from people, which can coerce or disrupt your natural design or your natural process. So centers is one of the places I actually really love to nerd out in human design because it does give us so much information of where conditioning has taken us too far. And we're coming from a place, we're reacting from a space that is actually meant to just be like a receiver.
So, like
And
open centers, you're more influenced by outside things
yes,
versus like blinders on, I'm doing my own shit. So, an open crown no
exactly.
longer sounds good.
I mean, it is good because you constantly have ideas. You're constantly being inspired. A lot of my Gens
Mhm.
have an open crown. It's that pressure to know.
What was
But
the name of
what
that website again, by the way?
mybodygraph.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just
If you want to show me your centers, we could totally
I was
nerd
going to
out.
say, I'm just
Uh,
like, all right.
but it's it's when you understand why certain people, certain actions, certain things really quote unquote trigger you. Human design shows you why you are feeling that emotion and where it actually needs to go and what you can do to shift that from a, WTF to, oh, that's them, sweet action. I know that this is true for me. And even if you don't know your human design, if you're listening to this, you're like, I'm not really called to know this. Even that simple action of if you know this person is just instantly triggering you, you can unfollow them. Like you have so much permission and say already to do what you need to do to create what you want. And especially when it comes to social media and things like that, like there is a fine line sometimes between
Oh,
inspiration and just complete overwhelm.
yeah. Yeah. We're all exposed to so much overwhelm. So, yeah, I can see where that's like, well, we're just not, our brain, nobody's brain was designed for this. Okay.
No.
So, let's switch from Manny Jenny to another one and talk
Yeah.
about how they show up in entrepreneurship and work, rest, launches, things like that. So,
Yeah,
pick
so
your favorite.
probably well, I'll use mine because mine is the exact opposite of
Okay.
manifesting generator. So as I mentioned, I'm what's called a projector. So I'm only about 15% of the population, and I have no natural energy source. We can quote unquote work two
You're
to
like a
four hours a
pond.
day. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love that. That just really made me think of one of my son's favorite kids Zen videos where it's like, be the pond. It's like it's like that. And so, but the thing is because we are so open, a lot of us projectors have a lot of open centers, which means we get, again, a lot of information from others. If we don't know that's what we're doing, we take it on as our own. So we do overwork ourselves because we think we have the energy, because if we're around a lot of energetic people, we think that it's ours. And we are really prone to burnout
And
because
then
of
as soon
that.
as you're not around them, like,
Oh,
yeah.
it's like emotional hangover. And I used to call myself an introverted extrovert for that. Like if you put me in a room with people, oh, I'm in like Flint. Like that's coolio. Excellent. Let's do this. I would get home, my partner would walk into a bedroom with no lights on. I wouldn't want to smile. I wouldn't want to talk. I would be so drained that it would sometimes last more than a day.
Oh,
And I didn't know where that was coming from. And so again, when I had my human design in front of me, it gave me that information to go, oh, okay, so I now know these things, though profitable and beautiful as they are, do burn me out short term. So I now
mhm.
create boundaries where if I'm speaking or I'm doing podcast
But it's
episode
got
or
to feel
things like
like
that.
almost artificial boundaries to you, right? Because it's like present you feels like
Mhm.
saying yes, but you know
Mhm.
that future you will
It's gonna
struggle
bite me in
with
the
that
butt.
yes. Oh, that would be terrible. I like mine
It's
where I can just be like, I'm testing it, feels great. Yes. You're like,
and the thing
I
is
want
it's
to.
it was a lot of reshifting because another part of human design is your authority. I'm what's called an emotional authority, which means I need to sleep on my responses. And that's not
Ugh,
I know. I have to
fuck, that
wait
sounds
to be
terrible.
invited. Oh, it's a total like, I'm sorry, what now? And it has taken me a good amount of time to understand again what my strategy, wait to be invited, actually means to me, because it doesn't mean I'm not doing anything. But when I look back at why I burned out the way that I did, and my burnout lasted for a year, like it was a burn out that I went, oh, okay, that's where I went too far. It's those little things that you start shifting once you understand
You
your
just start
human
learning about
design.
yourself too. It's the wisdom. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah. And
it's
it's
kind of
constant
like,
play, it's constant
why I've
practice.
learned that that fourth shot of tequila sounds fun, but future me does not want it.
Or if I'm
It's
around a
called
Manny Jen, I'm like,
wisdom,
yeah,
folks.
let's totally go to Vegas next weekend. And then the next morning, I'm like,
Why did I
oh,
say yes to this?
that's no, that's not me. So it's that trial and error for all of us.
Yeah.
But it has reshifted my pace in my business. But in the long term benefits, I am now more sustainable. I am now more profitable mentally, emotionally, and financially. I am more authentic. And
Yep.
I wish there was a better word than that because we overuse that so much. But my sense of self and my self direction is so solid. Like I'm going to be 44 in a week from this recording. And
Jesus, you
I've
look good.
never felt, thank you. I've great. My mom looks great too at 70. I have never felt so myself first time in my life. Like I can't even tell you it's just so good. And that
Mhm.
is because human design unlocked that journey for me because
Right.
it really showed me myself in my purest form and then gave me the permission to play inside of it and really understand what that means to me and
Right.
how I do utilize all of this information that I've been given.
Okay. After we wrap, I'm going to need you to look up Enneagram 4 and read it.
Okay.
But anyways, okay. So if projector, you're like having to predict your rest, can you plan your rest? It sounds like you probably can because all you
Yes,
have to do is cut yourself off from people and you're like, I'm resting.
exactly. We do. We're the napping majesties. We love to nap. We love to disconnect. I also have an element in my chart called a hermit. So I really need to nap and disconnect. Yeah. So it's that too of, okay, the the way that I would punish myself, that I would get exhausted. Now it's like, nope, that's my trigger of, okay, I'm done. I'm going to go watch the French Open for a little bit. I'm going to go, take an actual nap. I'm going to do something that is actually restful, like physically restful and mentally restful for me, because that's how I can maintain how I hold space for my clients, especially my very energetic ones,
Mhm.
because all of them are energetic except for us projectors and what's called a reflector, which is only 1% of the
Yeah, they're
population.
freaks.
Oh, I just worked with one. It was the coolest experience because everything that I typically say to my generators, which are 70% the population, and my manifesting generators, which is all half of generators, is completely opposite to what I tell my reflectors. So
Yeah.
it is that reminder that we all have a place in this cycle
Mhm.
energetically, and we all have starting points. Generators and managens, you're not the initiators. I know you think you are because you have the energy. You're the follow through.
What? I am not the follow through.
But you know what's interesting? But so then it's actually, and I get that a lot from my managens and generators.
Let's say
The
I
thing
launch
is,
planes and then just like hope somebody else lands that shit.
but see, that's because you're also part manifester that are the pure initiators. So the way you quote unquote initiate as a managen, it's it's that dance between what do you see and what are you doing that you can actually do, as opposed to are you just going because you see it and you're going to bypass a lot of the resources and support that you could have like brought on board sooner rather than
Mhm.
later. So you don't
Mhm.
have to backtrack a couple more steps, be like, oh, just kidding. I forgot to do this. Or I see like I talk about this a lot with my Manny Gens. I see the steps, but I see 1 through 10, but I also know how to go from 1 to 5. So I'm just going to do that. And
Correct.
you
Right.
can,
Faster.
but it's letting people know that you're going straight to number 5. So everybody else around you can go, okay, then I can do 2, 3, and 4.
Got it. Okay, so for projectors,
Mhm.
how do you okay, so we have planned rest. How do you go like, all right, I have to I'm launching this thing, I'm
Mhm.
starting a practice, I'm doing this thing.
Mhm.
Do you just need to really focus on surrounding yourself with high energy people to like help get you through it?
So yes and no.
Okay.
I know. How do you go?
How do you,
Um,
with no natural energy source,
I
become
know.
a river?
So the thing is that it's not like we don't have any. It's really being intentional on how we use the quote unquote work energy that we have. Because when we're inside of something that gets us revved up, that we're passionate about, it does give us energy, but it's just short spurts. So it's understanding your cadence inside of those energy bursts.
Okay.
And it is surrounding yourself with people like Manny Gens who can support you, but
Mhm.
either support you with you knowing you're just siphoning off their energy and you need to make sure you schedule like rest afterwards,
Mhm.
or if they are part of your team, you look at them and go, okay, I'm doing ABC. You and your beautiful energy are going to do X, Y, Z, and ta da. Like So it's learning how to rely on the different energy sources that you have and how to what's the word I'm looking for? When you give people things to do.
Delegate.
Oh my
Delegate.
delegate, thank you.
Yep.
Perimenopause brain is so fun. Um, you know how to delegate to them because you already know what you are
Right.
capable of. And again, look, it depends on different areas of your chart as a projector. So
Right.
I would give different feedback depending on how I saw your chart because some projectors can quote unquote push themselves and creates kind of this cycle for themselves of, okay, I know for the next month and a half, I'm going to be a manic mess, but I know that. And so I have already created support for me before and after in the day, whether that's by your
Mhm.
partner or a
Yep.
friend or what have you. And I also have scheduled a 2-week all inclusive vacation, or something
Mhm.
along those lines. Like you have already created something to
Yep.
rejuvenate
And it can
yourself.
be on a daily, a weekly, yep,
Exactly.
probably what you
Yeah.
need all. Okay.
It's
Okay.
customizable to the
Got it.
situation and to the person.
Okay. So you said generators are 70% of the population? Why? Why?
So we needed them.
Astrologically,
And
why?
actually, well, and it's actually gonna shift in 2027. But
What? Is it
yeah.
okay,
Oh,
what is is it Nutrion? What is the word that
yeah. So I like to use the term frequencies because
okay.
neutrons is very it's very science. I mean, part of human design is quantum physics. So
Yeah,
there's actual science
right.
behind it. Um, I prefer the term frequencies because that it's talked about a bit more of everything has a frequency, and we all know that it's in
Who has the
science,
highest
it's in
frequency?
uh well, again, it depends on the rest of your
Manny
chart. It
Jennings, right?
depends.
Manny Jennings too.
You have definitely an intense frequency
Mhm.
because
I
again,
like the
you
way you
are that
phrased that, Mel.
multitasker. You're
Yeah.
welcome. Ain't my first rodeo here, Lauren. Um, Generators, the reason why they're 70% is because they have been the structure of how we've been able to survive as a humanity. They've been able
Mm.
to
Yeah.
create the industry, the structure. A lot of people like to call them the worker bees. I don't like
Yep.
that term. I call them the backbone.
Yep.
Like we needed them. And
Yeah.
as we have probably all seen, we have now gone a little bit too far.
Yeah.
So in 2027, in astrology, it's called one thing, but in human design, it's called the solar plexus mutation. What that means is actually less generators are going to be born and more projectors like myself are going to be born because we now need to move back into that collaboration, that guidance, that communication aspect, or quote unquote feminine energy, where we have been in the quote unquote masculine energy
Mhm.
since the dawn of
Mhm.
time.
I thought
So it's,
Aquarius was supposed to fix that shit. Somebody
I mean,
was telling
if you
me like in
have one,
2023 or whatever that like, oh good. I was like, well,
Uh, right? I mean,
mm,
yes, but it's one of those things of if you have Aquarius in your chart, you have that fluidity, you have that like that essence in it. It's how you utilize that inside of your human design because astrology is also a part of human design. So just super quick, human design is a combination of astrology, I Ching, Kabbalah, chakras, and quantum physics. So it's all of those combined into one roadmap that gives you why it's so that's why it's so foundational because it pulls from all of the foundational modalities that we've already had access to and puts them all together and shows you the layers of how they support each other. So it's that for right now. And it's funny when I get a generator at a reading, they're like, oh man, I'm just a generator. It's like, no, you're not just a generator. Like it's okay that you're 70% of the population.
yeah.
We needed you and we still do need you, but how you utilize that gorgeous energy because they have just as much energy as Manigens because they're
Oh.
Manigens are half of all
Yeah.
generators. You have the same energy source, which is inside of your sacral. It's just a different, whereas you're in 6 different places, generators have what's called a stair step style. So they will master, they will have the energy. So this is kind of going into that rest
Yeah.
productivity cycle, right? So they get it, they're responding to something that they know they can do. They work inside of it, they're excited, they're energetic, they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Then they're gonna hit a plateau. They're gonna get
Mhm.
frustrated. And
Okay.
that plateau is actually a time for you to celebrate because you've mastered everything inside of that moment. And it is time for you to rest, recalibrate, and then wait for that next piece of information of what that next stair step is.
So
So
how
instead of
does
this kind of,
this, so basically they can't necessarily plan it as well either. It's kind of that like, go at this project until it becomes frustrating.
yep,
Now, how is their stair step different than a Manny Jenny's side project for rest?
because your stair steps come in all of your buckets and all at different times. And instead of actually pausing, like full on pausing, which generators need to do, you can move to another bucket that you're still in that master phase.
Okay. Yeah. So like basically a generator, when they hit that, they're like, okay, and now you do like rest.
Yeah. This is
Okay.
where
Yeah, this
you,
is
again,
really helpful.
because it might
But I'm
feel a
never
little
meant to
stop and
rest.
go.
Fuck.
I love
This
you're
makes
gonna probably
so
walk
much
out of this and be
sense
like, I
though.
knew it. I was never meant to rest. Thank you, Mel. And that's
It's
the
so,
validation, right? Of like, oh, I'm not
it's validation,
crazy.
but also kind of exhausting.
But it's that rest again. It's that like, yes, it could feel exhausting, but if it is the right space for you, then it's just like you said, you're gonna go wallpaper, you're gonna go paint, you're gonna go garden,
Mm-hmm.
something that gives you that like that satisfaction note that
Mm-hmm.
lets the rest of you chill for a hot second. Or like apps on your phone that just work in the background, give them the space to work in the background because you don't have to put any actual energy into it. That is your quote
Right.
unquote weight.
Yep.
And as you're waiting, you are still being active inside of it, taking care of you and making sure that you are still connecting to the things that make you passionate, happy, connected, and satisfied.
Yep. I'm such a selfish bitch. I keep bringing this back to Manny Jenny. So okay, so back to
I
generators.
love
But
it's your
this
show,
I
Vince.
joke
Let's
so
do
many
it.
times. This podcast ends up turning into a therapy session 70% of the time, where
I
it's
love it.
like just like, I know, but what about me? So okay. So back to all right. So generators,
Mhm.
they are doing a stair stepping. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
So how do they go into like they have a designated launch
Mhm.
project? Like they kind of
Mhm.
have to bring the energy whether they have it or not. What is their best
Mhm.
approach?
So again, it's from the other elements of your chart, it's understanding what is your space inside of it. What are things you want to do? What are things that you are best at? And what are the things that either you can delegate or if you don't have the financial capacity to delegate, how can you find like a reward system for yourself? So
Mm,
it's that like, okay, I to give myself energy to do the shit I don't like to do, I'm gonna do this thing that I really love to do. And then I'm gonna take the effect of that energy and they go, okay, I'm all buzzed up. I'm now, before I talk myself out of it, gonna do this over here until I get frustrated. And then that means I've used it all. I need to take a step to the side and go rest or go do something else to reignite that energy. So
mhm,
it helps you customize your to-do list. It helps you really see um what things you are meant to do and how you are meant to do them. Another element of your chart, I've talked about profile before, but there's one in there. Like a lot of the questions I get is, okay, do I need to be on social media? Do I need to be a speaker? Do I need like there's all of these again shoulds. I keep
mhm,
saying I should do this and I should do that. Inside of your chart shows you your best practices for getting your message out there. So if you are what's called an opportunist, that means that you get your best resources and opportunities through others. Therefore, networking is your jam. Like,
mm.
so social
Where
media can
in your
actually be like
chart
a backup.
is where do you find out if you're an opportunist?
So on your if you're looking at your chart, there's an
Mhm.
element called profile. You'll see two numbers. Are you looking at it?
I
If
know,
you're on
but
my
I don't
body graph,
understand.
if you go up, it says properties. It's going to
Yes.
show you. Yes. So then you see generator. So it's on the bottom left.
This is so complicated. No, I don't know what I'm doing. Jeez
Do you
Louise,
want me to
it's
look at
horrible.
it?
Yes.
Do you want
Okay.
to share your screen?
Yep. I'm gonna do this right now. Okay. Well, this is where if you were watching us
Oh, that makes
on
sense.
YouTube, you would be winning.
Okay, so you are a 3-5, which is not shocking because I attract 3-5s like crazy. So how you see it is, so you see personality.
Yep.
So you see the point 3.
Under
So that
18,
means you're a
maybe?
line. Yep. So that means you're a line 3. And
Oh,
then in
that
the
little point
design,
3 is important, huh?
yes. And then
Okay.
your design on the other side, the point 5.
Okay.
So you're
Oh,
what's
so
called
that's
a
where you pull the 3-5 from.
correct.
Where you say
So
personality
you're
first and then design second.
yes, because personality is what you are conscious of,
Okay.
and design is what is an unconscious
Okay.
area of your chart. So 3-5, you're what's called a martyr heretic, which
Oh,
sounds
fuck.
scary, but
That
it's really
just
not. I know.
sounds
It doesn't
terrible.
sound good. I know. I don't know why
Jesus.
he thought of these words. I have a colleague who's inside of human design as well, and it's making it
Murder
her
here.
personal mission to reword these because some of them are like, I'm sorry, what? But so as a martyr heretic, you are about experimentation. You have to
Mhm.
experiment so you
Yes.
can experience it, so you can tell others what not to do.
Yeah. Well, and I feel bad too because I get interviewed and I speak. And so often, one of the questions I'll get is like, how do you find the confidence or da 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 da? And I feel bad because it's like, this is my personality, not even knowing this human design part of like, I only need 60%. And I pulled that number out of my ass. I could probably function on 30%. And I do not even want to waste time trying to get to 100% of the information because I know once we start taking action, that's where I'll get the real information. And that's where I'll learn to
Exactly.
pivot. And so I'm
So
like, okay,
that's
we
your
got
yeah.
enough. Let's go. And we'll start like getting the experimentation. So, yes, 1,000%.
So that's how you quote unquote wait to respond. Is you put
Mhm.
it into experimentation, you get more information, and then you're able to plot, twist, or maneuver, or pivot, or whatever when you get that information. And it's going to be that consistently in your life. There's always going to be trial and learning in your
Right.
life. And then as a heretic, you are an energetic example to others. You are, and that's where also the foundations come from as well. As heretics, foundations are really important. Getting that foundational information helps you feel more grounded and helps you make decisions more fluid. And so when you're that energetic example for others, especially as a manager, people are going to go, "Oh, I see Lauryn just like boop, 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 boop. I want to see if I can do that." And it's not by actions. They should not copy and paste from you because
Right.
especially how you are designed. No. But for you, that is how you do get that information. And again, looking at your centers, which are all of the shapes,
All
the
right. So
fact
these
that
ones
you
down the
have
middle.
yeah.
Okay. Some of
So
them are
the
colored
fact
and some are white. Does that mean something?
so the ones that are colored are the ones that are defined. Those have set
Is that
processes. So
different than
those
open?
yes, so open is where you receive from. That's what I was talking about
Okay.
earlier. So
Yep.
the fact that you have an open crown and an open ajna, that's why you see things. Like you have an open crown and open third eye. So you get the
So you're
ideas.
talking about
You
these
can
top two
see all
ones.
the steps. Yep. But the thing is that's not the invitation for you to put it into action. You need to move it down into so the defined throat. Yep. And the defined identity, which is the one underneath it. And
Okay.
I believe, yeah, your sacral authority as well. So you're very instinctual.
Yep.
You like you the term trust your gut applies to you. For me as an emotional, the term trust your gut means nothing because my sacral is open. I shouldn't trust
Okay.
anything from that sucker. Um, but when you said that you just know yourself, absolutely, because you see that your sacral, which is you can't see where I'm pointing, but the red square,
Okay.
that's your sacral. See how it's connected to your identity?
Yes.
So the line,
On this little
so
like line thing.
yep. So that's what's called a channel. So the fact that you trust your gut and you know yourself, that is your powerhouse. Like that is you in a
Got it.
very small piece. And so again, it's these validations of again that yes, you have this energy. Yes, you are constantly going to see things and you're going to feel things because you're open in your heart, which is the open small triangle on the right-hand side. Yep, and the solar plexus, which are both huge emotional spaces.
Is that a solar
So that
plexus?
could mhm. I know it's not mapped out like it is on a
Yeah.
typical chakra
Yeah.
chart. Um but it is that like if you're around really emotional people or if it's something you're extremely passionate about, that could unknowingly give you pressure to figure out something. But again, this is open. You're not meant to figure it out. You're meant to feel it out and you're meant to put it into play. So it's that pause in that too of like, don't get caught up in the excitement of it all. Again, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
It's back to that, okay, this is what I'm seeing, people. I'm going to talk it out. I'm going to hear what people are hearing from me. And then that's going to give me information to respond to that's actually going to show you
Hmm.
your profitable part inside of it.
Okay. So back to generators.
Mm-hmm.
How did they, as a leader, well, honestly, I guess in all of these, I know we haven't talked about relators,
Reflectors and
reflectors.
manifestors are the other two. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, when you are a leader
Mm-hmm.
of other different types, well, and even if you
Mm-hmm.
were a leader of the same type,
Yeah.
how do you best show up being like, because if you're a solopreneur, this is great and
Yeah. You have
all.
lots of conversations with yourselves. It's great.
But like when you are leading a team of 5,
Yeah.
10 plus people,
Yeah.
I as Manny Jenny can't just be like, okay, we're resting, but now we're working on this project, because the generators on my team are going to be like, I'm like
Wait,
literally
wait,
mid
wait.
whatever.
Yeah.
Or if you're a generator that is the leader,
Mm-hmm.
like, how do you be like,
And the
actually,
managers
you
take
know
off
what?
running.
This project is frustrating, so we're going to just table it, or if you're a projector. So like,
Yeah.
how, when you are in the role of leadership where you're the
Yeah.
one determining
Mm-hmm.
green light, red light, like,
Yeah.
how do you best manage that in a team?
That's a great question. So when you are either one, it is understanding that there, even if you know it or not, there are different energetic supports inside of your team. So if you're done for the moment, you can let the rest of your team do what they need to do or what they want to do inside of moving it forward so you can rest, or as I mentioned, you can pop over to the other bucket. So it's creating a system, or it's creating a system of communication, I like to say, where if you are tapped out inside of a certain space and you have a team around you, everybody needs to be informed. First and foremost,
Hmm.
communication is key. So it's getting your team around you and you going as a generator, okay, look, guys, I've hit my point of frustration. How are you all feeling? Where are you all at? What do you all see? Because that gives you, as a generator, information to respond to. And that's your strategy, wait to respond. So
Hmm.
it's not tabling everything and telling everybody, okay, just kidding. It's you personally. And that's why I like to work with the individual so they honor themselves and know how to communicate their boundaries, their needs, their wants, their expectations, and teaching their team how to do the same. So you can rely on your team to take over and do what they can do so you can rest, you can recalibrate, you can go over to this other bucket and have fun. And then when they're done, come back together and feel it out again. If you're like, no, this really ain't jiving, this is now what I'm seeing, or this is now what I want to respond to.
Hmm.
But no launch. I would love to meet an entrepreneur whose launch went successfully from day one. Everybody has to tweak.
Hmm.
So it's letting go of that. Yeah, you may have seen it, but you saw it with only this much of information. Guess what? You now have this new amount of information. So
Hmm.
everybody needs to take a breath, look at what you've been doing, recalibrate, and let go of what no longer works. Understand what you can do inside of your design. Let your team know what you're capable of. Let your team say what they're capable of. Create that energetic plan, that communication, and move forward. So it really does help. And again, this is why 2027 is going to be so beautiful, because it's no longer that training of you're the leader, everything goes and says by you, but more of that collaboration effort. If you have a team, your team is there beside you. Yes, you are the CEO. Yes, you are the founder. Yes, you are the boss, but you can be alongside them. You don't have to put on this pressure that you have to know everything, be on top of
Right.
everything. You're human.
Well, and
So
this is
are
like,
they.
you know, this is one of the things when I So it's really easy talking to female entrepreneurs because they can embrace like, oh, I like have gone too masculine because running a business
Mhm.
is very masculine if we're going to talk
Yeah,
about it like
absolutely.
masculine versus feminine energy. And so they can easily accept that like they need to bring more feminine energy in. And like
Mhm.
when we talk about like what does like corporate structure, leadership, like all that, like feminine leadership skills, or like they call soft leadership
Yeah.
skills, are what everybody needs to be bringing in,
Yeah.
whether you're super masculine, feminine, no matter what your genitalia is.
Yeah.
But when I'm talking to men and talking about like bringing in soft leadership, what I'm hearing is like, so what this would look like is being honest with your team. You don't have to use like, hey guys, I'm a Manny Jenny. And so,
Right.
right. But like, you don't have
So
to
my
show up
my
like
chart says I
that.
need to rest. Yeah.
But it is showing up being like, hey, so I want to be the best leader for you. And I understand that. But what I do know about myself
Yes.
is sometimes I will get tapped out in one project and I need to sit and let the dust settle and observe,
Yes.
go to almost a different project. And then I can come back with a refreshed thing. When this happens, then you give them the next step of like, when this
Yes.
happens, I'm going to be honest with you where I'm at because I know my best self. I'm going to show up frustrated, short
Mhm.
tempered, whatever. I'm not going to,
Mhm.
but I'm going to check in with your energy and see if you still have the energy to keep going with that project. So I'm going to give you the
Mhm.
autonomy if you do. And then I'll circle back with fresh eyes. While I'm away, it's not that I'm not thinking about it. Like, so it's
Yeah.
just having this conversation and
Yep.
transparency with
1,000%.
your employees
Yeah.
to be like, this is how I operate. It doesn't mean this, or this, but then also obviously knowing what theirs is too.
Yeah, it's always helpful, and it even if it's just along the lines of which I do for team leaders is I just give them a brief overview of like I'm not going to go deep into everybody's chart because that's very personal information. But as a founder, as a CEO, I can give you that map of okay, this one's a managen, but they're also a hermit, so they are they're going to be a little bit different when it comes to how they can shift from one thing to another, or they're a projector. So they're going to be a little bit quieter. They're going to get shit done, but it's just going to be may not be as quickly as you want it to be because as managens, you work ridiculously fast. So it's understanding that how you all can support each other, how one can start, how one can stop, and everybody can have that consistent quote unquote rest and productive cycles that are according to them,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing gets dropped because you understand how the other person can step
Yeah.
up. So it just
You're like a
creates
little
that really
relay team.
gorgeous. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like a Ragnar.
Yeah.
It's like let's
Right.
do yeah.
I'm not going to take the 10-mile one. I know I cannot.
You do the hills, I'll do the 2 miles in
Right.
the valley, and we're good to
Right.
go.
Okay. So let's talk about the freaks of the group. The,
The
the relate
reflectors,
reflectors. Yes.
reflectors.
Reflectors. So
So
1% of the population.
1%. Yeah. So they're what's called the barometers of the community. So I joke around. I grew up in a very conservative Christian household. Definitely do not prescribe to that anymore. But I like to joke around that projectors are like the Holy Spirit, like we're above everything because we're the overarching guides.
Mm-hmm.
Reflectors are kind of like the God complex. Like they can like really see everything. And they know the energy of a room. They know how if it's healthy, they know if it's not. Not that they necessarily know how to quote unquote fix it, but they bring that to the space of, ooh, something's a little bit wonky. And they create that space for the rest of us to go, ooh, what is that? And we can create that communication. The interesting thing about reflectors is their strategy is wait 28 days. They have to wait a
What?
complete moon cycle to make a decision.
28 freaking days?
Yeah, because they need to complete a whole cycle to get all the information that they need in order to ensure that's what's best for them.
What the fuck? Okay, so I'm
I know.
never hiring a reflector.
Well, I would say
What do they
reflectors,
bring to
if you
this
have like
table?
because they even though they can't quote unquote make a I shouldn't say they can't. how they make decisions is different. But
Slow as
what they
F.
can do inside the moment is they can really hone in on the actual energy of that time and be able to guide everybody else to get back into that proper energy alignment. So they are, like I said, so I'm kind of the guide. They're the like massive sheep herder. Like they just really see the pattern and are able to ask you questions, give you information so you guys can realign yourselves. And if it's something massive to them, again, that doesn't mean like you have to wait 28 days to pick what restaurant you have to go to. Like these, your strategies are meant for important major decisions.
Mhm.
You can still be sporadic, you can still do all these things. But when it comes to something inside of their business, if it's something in a transitional standpoint, they do need time to ask all the questions, to really feel the space and to understand what it means for them. So it
Mhm.
is still that play of, again, you're not doing anything. My client, who's also a chiropractor, actually, she's a reflector. And we realized
Who's your
that
client? Oh,
she
you probably
was,
can't say.
yeah, I'll tell you after the recording.
Okay.
Um, but we realized that so reflectors, kind of like projectors, we utilize a compound effect when it comes to our quote unquote success. And she realized that all of the major decisions she has made in her business did take her 2 months to actually say yes to. So when we get this information and we actually look back on what was successful and how that success came, it is always within our design. We naturally work inside of our design every single day. We just go too far or push ourselves when we don't need to. So it's again that validation where she was like, oh, yeah, when I decided to move from the city and move my office to my home, that took like 3 months for me to get all of the proper information to really ensure that this was it. So, again, it's not meant to be a scare tactic. It's meant for you to understand your sustainability inside it. And as a reflector, she knows that she is here to be an instant energetic support for others, which is beautiful with how she works inside of her chiropractic office. She does that every single day. And also when it comes to those major decisions, what she can do inside of that time as she gleans more information. And when that clarity comes, it typically is after 28 days or more, and she knows that she's done her due diligence and she can move on.
So, are their rest cycles kind of built into that, like,
Yeah. Kind of like
so they
projectors.
tend not to, like, burn out quite as much because
They
they
can because they pressure themselves to be generators or manifesting generators because we're not taught to wait as entrepreneurs,
Yeah,
especially for those of us,
right.
assigned female at birth. And so it's that reminder as well that and reflectors are very open. Like they have a lot of open centers. So it's reminding them that all of that they feel is not theirs. So they need to rest so they can get that energy out, let what information is theirs settle. And that's why it takes 28 days because they are constantly coerced by outside influences and outside energy.
Mhm. So
So
what's an unhealthy relate reflector gonna look like?
So an unhealthy reflector is going to be bitter, is going to be exhausted. Their signature is actually peace. Like they just feel that's why I'm like they are that still waters. Like when they just feel in peace and in flow, that means they're inside of their design. When they're starting to feel exhausted, bitter, frustrated, I mean they absorb all of our not signature selves. That's when they need to go, okay, I'm just taking on way too much from other people. I need to do what I need to do to get this out, see what actually still resonates with me, and how does that compound itself into that decision.
Got it. Okay. Well, so first step for people would be to figure out, go to my body graph. Okay, when I'm on the thing, it doesn't say, how do you find out what like
So I think yours is different because if you hold on, let
because
me
it doesn't say
actually
like, hello, you're a Manny Jenny.
I know. Let me open up mine really quick because I always forget what the landing screen looks like. I just remember what it looks like when I have a client. Give me 2 ticks. Um, Where's the yeah, that's why it's different. Okay. So if you actually go to the top right-hand side, it's gonna say your name. Click on your name,
Okay.
and then you're gonna see
Um,
properties
Properties. Yeah.
and then ta-da.
Wait, what?
So it should say functional
Oh,
properties, and then it should be type,
type.
strategy.
Yep. There we go.
Yep.
Okay. Man, they kind of make you work for it for
I
something
mean, a
that's
little bit.
like really everybody's categorized into 4, but we're going to hide the one of the 4. Got it. Okay.
Actually, there's 5 because there's still manifestor, but there's
We didn't
5
talk about
types.
manifestors. Well, we need to talk about manifestors quick.
Yeah. So manifestors are the initiators. They're the magicians. They are
Okay.
the ones that get the ideas, that share the ideas. So their strategy is purely to inform. They're like, hey guys, I have this idea. And then once everybody's like, that's great, we're all going to do this, they need to move on to the next idea. So that's
Oh.
why you're part manifestor, part generator. So you see how that kind of
Okay.
combines the two
Yeah,
for
that makes sense.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the manifestors, they are the ones that you look at and go, God, everything you do just works. That's a manifestor. Like they have that magic to manifest a lot quicker than, or not, I shouldn't say quicker, differently than the rest
Yeah,
of
but they're
us.
constantly moving on. There's like zero follow through.
But that's one of the things of
Sounds
like,
like a
those are,
nightmare as a leader. I thought,
I don't know though, because again, you can create your support underneath you. We're pulling away from this traditional idea of what a leader
yeah,
should be.
no, you're
And we're
right.
customizing
I
it.
can't imagine not knowing you're not a manifester. Because if you don't have incredible delegation skills while you are focused on like just
Yeah.
because
That's why
yes,
this information is so, I feel so important because it makes you go, "Oh, that's my bad." And you really are able to create a support where you can truly let go of this control factor, let go of all these traditional expectations that you know do not sit well with you, but you don't know why, and
mhm.
really helps you customize how you lead for yourself and how you can create that support system within your team that runs on its own without you having to constantly go, oh, but uh, it,
Right, because
it,
I could just as well see, you said like a manifestor, everything works out for. I could also see a manifestor who doesn't have support having a trail of carcasses and wreckage of, in their mind, failed
yeah,
things.
because they've never seen anything through.
Yes.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
how
I
they
have a
feel.
feeling like if Enneagram did line up, like these would be our Enneagram 7s of the group people. Like they are
Totally.
just like on to the next. That sounds fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So for them, they have like the most initiative. What
Mhm.
does like if they what does like rest look like for them? Like if they have to launch something and they have to
Mhm.
be, they are kind of a solopreneur or whatever, like
Mhm.
how do they incorporate rest so they can force themselves to see something through?
Yeah. So again, it is that it's almost the same way as a generator would, where you utilize that energy as, I've got the idea, I know I can initiate it. But it is that, like, you can only initiate it so far, and then you are gonna hit a wall, which means you need to receive more information so you can initiate again or even further. So, the way that you can register that, because with, manifestors, theirs is da, 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 da. So, for manifestors, their signature is like a reflector, which is peace, but their not self is anger. So when they're just like, what in the and they're just so angry that nobody's listening, that this isn't working, that means all of their initiation is done. So they need to go back to their strategy, which is also inform, because again, as a managen, that's why that's part of your strategy.
Okay.
And it's that inform of like, I'm pissed. This isn't working. This is what I saw. This is what's happening. And to get that information from others so then they can initiate the next level of that idea.
So it's
And
kind
the
of a
point is,
pause
it's
and
not
watch.
exactly. And the point is to not, I don't want people here like, okay, so I'm just going to go till I get pissed. No, let's kind of pull back before then. Like, let's not make that the goal. But it's also like, yes, and. But it's that, okay, when I start feeling uninspired, especially as a manifester, when I start feeling uninspired, when I start feeling tired, when I start getting a little resentful, that means your ideas are done for now. So, what's the next idea that either can, again, take that first idea to the next level, Or because you got so much more information, initiate another idea that it can stem off of that, and you can talk to somebody and maybe somebody else can take that over. So it's a dance between, again, what ideas are meant for you to initiate as a manifester, and what ideas do you have that you can tell to somebody else that they can then follow through and initiate yourself, and that could be something along the lines of, like, you're a franchise owner or you are just a pattern maker. Like, there's a lot of ways that you can make good amount of money by just being the ideas person.
Yeah. Yeah. Consultant is a great, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So for a manifester, it seems like their rest cycle is a little more, it depends
Mhm,
of like, so they start feeling angry if they feel inspired to initiate
mhm.
a different thing, then go for it. But if there is not inspiration, then it's just kind of this pause,
Yeah,
rest, watch. So theirs could be
yeah.
kind of,
Watch, talk it out, listen to, ask how,
yeah,
kind of see what's going on in the world, talk it out with people just to get
yep,
that new or a different perspective than what you see.
got it. Okay, well, I'm feeling frustrated and I'm ready to be done. Okay, I'm done. So, I'm
And
ready to
scene.
go initiate a different project. So, Mel, if people wanted to work with you, what does working with you look like and where would they find more of you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do offer 90-minute one-on-one human design readings. You can find all of that information on my website, melmcsherry.com. If you would like to respectfully stalk me first and get more information, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Mel McSherry, or at Instagram at Mel_McSherry. If you are like, okay, I hear you, I see you, I have so many questions, it's ridiculous. I do offer complimentary 30-minute coffees just for that space to be held, to process all of that. And you can schedule one of those at virtualcoffeewithmel.com.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. I
Thank
think,
you.
we spend a little more time talking about Manny Jenny's than the rest, but it's fine. My editor will like break it up of like, if you want to jump right to the reflector section, if you can jump to that. So I really, really appreciate your time. This was very
Yeah.
fascinating. You did a fantastic job representing human design for the
Thank
first time in
you.
like 320 episodes. So great job. And we will have all of those links below for you. All right, She Slayers. Like I said, we'll have those links. Make sure you are on our weekly list. If you got something out of this, we would love if you would share this podcast on whatever platform you are a geek of, because that helps both Mel and I get our message out and continue to help people like we are meant to do. So until next week, bye.